Welcome to the Winged Wheel Podcast, the number one source for news, analysis, and discussion on the Detroit Red Wings, the NHL, and all things hockey. Here are your hosts, Ryan Hanna, Brad Crisco, and Evan Lopsinger.
You know, a little while back, actually, you'll remember this, Evan, because you weren't here, but the episode where you showed up in the morning and
yes.
Yeah. So
How could I forget?
That was the Fedorov episode.
Yes.
And right now we are in the high 800s for our episode number. Guess what episode number specifically our Fedorov episode was?
890.
890. 890. I would have preferred we were way off rather than one away from that being perfect 891. That's been torturing me ever since it was pointed out.
Tuesday night emergency episode. We have nothing specific to talk about. You'll understand later.
We just go back later and change the game sheet so that it all lines up.
And,
That's what we should do.
Yeah, the first goal was almost 91 seconds of the game. Wasn't it 90 seconds or something like that?
Yeah, it was like 1 or 2 seconds off.
If you're the scorekeeper, you
just
know,
write it down.
Just fudge it. You see that opportunity, you have to just fudge that.
Yeah.
I like that thought, Brad, of, we would have noticed that in advance and recorded an extra episode. We didn't even show up for the normal episode that day, Brad. I live here.
Well, had we committed to the bit and just not even done it in the evening, it would have been 889, which feels far more palatable.
That would have been way more palatable, yeah. Wait, no, it wouldn't have. It
would have lingered for longer. 889 would have lingered for longer.
We are so dumb. Welcome to the Winged Wheel Podcast, folks. Here to talk to you about all things Detroit Red Wings hockey, which is a bit loaded, the world of the NHL, and lots more. I'm one of your hosts, Ryan Hanna.
I'm Brad Crisco.
And I'm Evan.
Evan, that's a nice Masters sweater you got on this episode.
I don't have any more, so you're free to wear yours next episode.
What'd you wear last episode, Evan?
My Masters sweat, this exact one in a different color.
Yeah, and what if I tried to wear it for 2 episodes in a row?
Your Masters sweater, but in a different color.
I've had to change. Oh, man. On this episode of the Winged Wheel Podcast, we're going to be talking about the 2 Detroit Red Wings games that have happened. Sorry in advance. And then we're going to be talking about takeaways from those games, discussing high performers, low performers on the Detroit Red Wings, and whatever else comes up in that discussion. It's going to be an interesting one. We're also going to talk about trade rumors linking the Detroit Red Wings and Steve Yzerman to specific players and teams, NHL news, and more before we jump into overtime. Very quickly, patreon.com/wingedwheelpodcast if you want to support the show. Our patrons get access to our bonus overtime episodes, which record right after these main ones. We let loose, we have fun. You get outtakes, thoughts with Evan. It's a really good time. You also get access to our Patreon exclusive Discord, and you're automatically entered into all of our giveaways. For example, we give away 2 tickets to every Detroit Red Wings home game going directly to our Patreon supporters. So again, patreon.com/wingedwheelpodcast and Winged Wheel Podcast night at the LCA, Saturday, March 21st against the Boston Bruins. Tickets can be found at wingedwheelpodcast.com/Red Wings or the link in the description. Tickets get you not only access to the Red Wings game at a discounted rate, they also get you access to the pregame live recording of the Winged Wheel Podcast at Little Caesars Arena, featuring Ken Daniels, lead announcer for the Detroit Red Wings, and other special guests. You get a sweet, officially licensed Detroit Red Wings and Winged Wheel Podcast co-branded merch. It's a hat. It's a cream and red colorway for the Centennial season. It's the Centennial logo on front and then our Winged Wheel Podcast logo on the side. It is unreal. Every ticket represents a donation to the Jamie Daniels Foundation, all of that and lots more. So again, wingedwheelpodcast.com/Red Wings. So one of these games was actually interesting, even though it was disappointing. And that was the Washington game. The Colorado game recap's going to go a lot easier, but the Washington game was a dump until the very end, and then was one of the more wild finishes I've seen from those last 2 minutes to the end of the shootout. I think maybe all season, or among one of the wildest finishes all season. All in all, what are your takeaways from that game? We'll get into the specific storylines, obviously Patrick Kane breaking the record twice, and Alex DeBrincat in the camera operator's hole and everything like that. But how'd you feel walking away from that game?
So it was a 3-part story. And you know how like you're driving sometimes and then you just snap to and you don't remember anything that happened for the last 20 minutes? That was the Dowd goal to the Patrick Kane record.
Yeah.
And then it happened again, and that was the Kane record to the Dylan Strome goal. So just kind of, you blink twice and you miss like 2/3 of the game. But on that last one, as you were kind of drifting off into space along the highway, you accidentally drifted into oncoming traffic. And then when you snapped to it, was chaos. That's pretty much nothing happened. A record, nothing happened. The craziest 5 minutes of hockey we've seen in a while.
It's like that trend going around TikTok and stuff. It's like the subtle foreshadowing, and it's like the chaotic end of the video, and then it keeps cutting back to the lead up to it where everything looks normal. That's pretty much how it went. The whole game wasn't a disaster for the Red Wings, at least to start, but it got to be frustrating at points. So the game started, and we thought Patrick Kane had the all-time American-born points record fast off an Alex DeBrincat goal, but it was called back for offside. It's the right call, but still, you're like, of all goals to come back, it's just so annoying when you want to do the celebration right, and it's a big moment, and, you can only fire the confetti once. It's hard to, you're not going to pick all that up again. It feels a little bit anticlimactic when that happens, but still, you get why. I felt a little bit like Brad on that one. Even if it was offside, just let that one stand,
It wasn't even the dumbest one of those in the NHL that night. Did you see Seattle?
No.
Jared McCann scored a hat trick. Hats go flying on the ice.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay.
And then I don't know the exact time frame, but like a minute before that play, multiple puck possession changes. They reviewed it from fraction of an inch offside, and it got pulled off. Now, Seattle, to their credit, great marketing campaign. If you threw a hat on the ice for the hat trick that wasn't, they said they got you and they'll get you a new hat or something like that. But like, you have a hat trick getting wiped out over here. You have a history-making goal over here. If we never had offside review, we would have never noticed that Kane play. He was obviously offside, don't get me wrong. But like, nobody would have noticed.
You shouldn't boo Gary Bettman. You should boo Matt Duchene.
It all goes back to Matt Duchene, man. Yeah, his game checks should be distributed to every fan who watches and has to wait more than 30 seconds for an offside review.
That was so offside. It was kind of like the Lane Hudson fantasy.
Oh, yeah. Which is also going to turn into a rule change because they're talking about reviewing penalties like that.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Just boo Matt Duchene. That's all I have.
So the scoring actually opens with Nick Dowd. He puts Washington up 1-0. And I think it was at the end of the first period, you could see Detroit they were forcing it too much with the whole Kane thing. Like, it was an exercise in seeing how much those guys revere Patrick Kane and how important he is to that team and how much they respect him in the room and, they want this for him. And then you could also see Patrick Kane get frustrated, like, shoot the puck. It was so easy to defend. Washington knew they were just going to try to force everything to make sure Kane's stick touched the puck at some point, especially on the power plays. There's a late power play. Yeah, it was Trevor Van Riemsdyk went off for tripping Lucas Raymond. And you were like, just shoot. Just shoot. He's going to get another point. If it's not today, if it's not that power play, it doesn't matter. You want to win this game. The context of the entire playoff race right now is important. You're missing Simon Edvinsson. That's important. You have Colorado. Talk about subtle foreshadowing. You have Colorado in a couple nights. That's important. Just shoot the puck. Detroit was really kind of... it was too much. Thankfully, in the second period, Ben Chiarot, with his brand new contract, blasts home a goal from DeBrincat and Patrick Kane. The secondary assist gives Patrick Kane 1375. He gets the points record and is alone atop the all-time American-born point scorer in NHL history. He looked relieved. It was a nice moment. I thought the celebration was cool. Everyone got on the ice, and that was worth celebrating the way that they did. And it was also very much a moment of, okay, you could see Kane kind of, yep, all right, now that's done. Let's go here. So next up is Brett Hull's 1391 for overall points by an American player, period. Brett Hull, obviously born in Belleville, Ontario, but played for Team USA and American growing up. So that's attainable this season, even for Patrick Kane, if not early next season, but we'll see. But yeah, it was time to kind of go after that. And you can see Kane enjoyed the moment, and then it was back to business. Not so much for the Red Wings. Up until 2 minutes-ish left in the game, Detroit had nothing else going. Dylan Strome scored to make it 2-1. Chisholm scored his first of the season to make it 3-1, and it wasn't the best, most inspiring display by Detroit up until that point.
This is where I get concerned. Last episode, after the loss, we talked about the sky isn't falling. It's one loss. Yeah, the Red Wings have been playing bad, but whatever. Every team goes through a stretch like this. It's how they're losing consistently now, obviously coupling with the other game that we're going to talk about, where this team just, the give a damn meter looks like it's an all-time low, and you're in the middle of a playoff race. You're barely generating 20 shots on net a night, if that. You're going prolonged stretches of the game without any sustained ozone time. Like, we'll talk about it in the bigger conversation later, but we've talked about the warning signs flashing on the dashboard. The smoke's starting to come out from the hood now. Something has to change immediately.
Yeah, I was wondering if the end of that game would be that conversation right away, but it was kind of put off a little bit. Alex DeBrincat with the help of a lucky bounce and maybe the cameraman in that corner, single-handedly saved a point for the Red Wings. So at 18:20 in the third, Alex DeBrincat scores from Larkin and Kopp with the net empty to give Detroit life. They were down 2. They were down 3-1 at that point. So he cleans up at the side of the net, finally puts one in again, and the Red Wings are within 1. Alex DeBrincat, 47 seconds later, throws the puck in on the right side. It takes a wild bounce. I feel like that's like the 5th time this has happened for the Red Wings. I think it's actually like the 2nd or 3rd. But a wild bounce off of something in the corner. You couldn't really see it because of the camera angle. And it goes straight in. Lindgren had no chance. It was just a stupid play. Like, I have no issue with Washington being as furious as they were. Like, that's just such a ridiculous bounce. Obviously, as a Red Wings fan, you're like, dear God, this could have saved the game for us. That was incredible. And then upon review, you figure out that it hit the cutout of the glass where the cameraman puts his lens out when the play is away from that part. And then if you don't know how that works, essentially it's a cutout. And then when the play is kind of close to there, the cameraman's supposed to pull his camera away and then put this little, piece of glass or plexiglass, whatever it is, in its spot to basically fill in the cutout in the glass. And they determined that it didn't go into the cutout and hit something and come back out. It didn't hit a camera lens or anything. They think it just took a weird bounce off the cutout somehow. So I don't know if the fill-in piece wasn't flush against the glass or whatever. But if either of the two situations I just mentioned had happened, if that's what they determined, it would have been no goal. But they said it was just a weird bounce and it went in. And so if you're the Red Wings, you count your lucky stars. That saved you a point right there. So I hope that cameraman didn't have to buy a beer that night.
We've seen countless goals over our entire lives hit stanchions, hit weird things, take weird bounces off the end boards. Like, this is just another part of that. But it couldn't have happened at a more opportune time for the Red Wings. Like, scraping out a point or even having the chance to take it to overtime to get the second point is massive, especially with how everyone keeps winning in the Atlantic. So even getting 1 point when the Red Wings really didn't belong in that game it made me feel a lot better.
That cameraman has more points above replacement in terms of team standing points than a lot of players in the NHL.
We should look at what his war card looks like.
Better than some defensemen.
Probably at least 1%.
There you go. The analytics would love him. So he ends up saving a point for the Red Wings. Nothing happening in overtime. End of overtime, Charlie Lindgren looks like he can't even stand. Like, he is hurt. He tweaked something. It might have even been, I wouldn't be surprised if it was on that play where he reacted and tried to do the splits to save the puck from going in off the wild bounce.
Have you guys ever seen the YouTube thing, the Scott Sterling?
Oh yeah.
Was he was that's the first thing I thought about when he was like hobbling around and hurt, but still making saves. I was like, that's Scott Sterling in that. They just switched him out.
The most disrespectful thing the Red Wings could have done is send Moritz Seider out there and just take a clapper from the hash marks right at him. Right off the helmet, he makes a save. Seeing stars. Next up, somehow they have Al McInnes.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, I was dying laughing because he was visibly hurt.
They end up keeping him in because their third goalie, because Logan Thompson's hurt, they're like, we don't want to have our third goalie get hurt as well because he's been cold all game. And if he has to come in and make a big had stretched, and all of a sudden we have 3 hurt goalies. And I understand that. So they leave Lindgren in. He's obviously not able to play because he didn't make a single save. Unfortunately, neither did John Gibson in the shootout. And unfortunately, even though Dylan Larkin beat Lindgren, he didn't beat the crossbar. So not a single save by a goalie in the shootout, but Larkin hit the crossbar and Washington takes it in a shootout. Just a ridiculous game, from the Kane breaking the record twice to the Red Wings, forcing everything in the power play to try to get Kane to break the record, to the nothing happening until the end, and then Alex DeBrincat with the help of a, photographer stealing a point, and then an injured goalie winning the game. Do you see the shot of them carrying him to the room in the tunnel, his arms around his teammates, just walking him down?
Oh God, I'm just laughing about Scott Sterling now.
There was like how many minutes of dead air, or like just a black screen on the national broadcast. Oh my, whenever there's back-to-back national games, I'm like, this is the worst. I know we complain about it all the time, but this is the worst. That's what's going to suck about making it back to the playoffs, is more national games.
I genuinely can't believe how bad it is.
Audio delay.
There's an audio delay, so every call, everything just feels off. Blurry. Every other game I watched because I was constantly going back and forth with other games that night just to see if it was my TV, if it was my box, or if it was my internet, or just something. No, every other game's coming through crystal clear, except the Red Wings one. Glitchy. Yeah, cut to black for, I think it was about 8 minutes of game time. Just black. Nothing on the screen. And for a company that big, I understand hockey's not their priority. Hockey fans love to complain about it, but hey, the numbers are the number. The states care way more about football and basketball and college sports. So of course ESPN should be able to prioritize those over hockey. But it's not like you're throwing no money at this thing.
I want to bring back being able to pick the broadcast that you're watching. We can't even get the actual broadcast.
We can't get a broadcast.
Disappointing night for Detroit, but still one where you're like, okay, at least you scrounged up a point. You have to make the most of this, because up next in your last home game until March 4th, you have the Colorado Avalanche coming into town. And we all said, Detroit's lucky to walk away with a point. You wish they could have secured 2, but they shouldn't even have had that opportunity. You got to find a way to pull this together for Colorado and at least make it competitive. And I'll tell you what, not even close.
This is just like the New Year's Day game for me. Nathan MacKinnon drinking waters, no junk food allowed.
No simple carbs for sure.
No, not at all. Just clean living, and it was just a beatdown. I knew it was going to happen.
He really wanted those throwback gloves from the Centennial.
Can't blame him though.
They're sweet. Yeah, when they had them at Winged Wheel Podcast tonight, I looked at Kyle and I was like, I'm going to steal that, man. You're coming home with me.
Why'd you only bring 1 glove? He's like, oh, we brought 2. It's like, why'd you only bring 1 glove?
That's what the trainer said to DeBrincat when he got back to the room, pretty much. The way McKinnon wrenched on DeBrincat's arm would have killed the Hughes.
oh yeah. He would have just pulled his arm right off.
People were really upset about that, justifiably, because I'm like, a more frail guy, and I would not be surprised if he just tweaked it the wrong way. If someone had a pre-existing injury, if that was Raymond, I could have messed up his whole season.
Do you think McKinnon was just looking for another piece of gear to throw at someone? He's just trying to go head to toe. It's going to get dicey when he gets down to the skates.
It will, but honestly, that's going to be one of the funniest things. Just seeing how he up next. I do think, or at least before the skates, is when he javelin throws his stick.
Whatever the last piece of gear he's on to throw at someone, that chase is going to be more interesting to me than Patrick Kane chasing the American record, Ovechkin chasing the goal record. I will be locked into every game until he is chucking that skate across the ice.
Now, here's the Red Wings lose 5-0. It was a terrible effort, start to finish. You can look at different, micro metrics and say, oh, they were actually better that game than they were against the Penguins.
I don't need to watch. I don't need to read
5-0 tells you the story. It was pathetic.
They were outclassed, out-talented, outworked, out everything. The Red Wings were better at exactly 0 things that game. And if this was a one-off game against Colorado, I think everybody just goes, wow, Colorado sure is good, aren't they? But this feels like we're going on 2 weeks of the Red Wings looking like this. They just ran into a buzzsaw.
Well, but the thing is, though, you have to remember they're missing Edvinsson. They've not looked the most even keel, you're right, for the last couple of weeks. They're looking forward to the break. The Colorado game sucks, but they played the best team in the league, Brad. They just have to forget it, move past it, look forward to their next game, which is also against the Colorado Avalanche, but this time in Colorado. Got it. Cool. So, yeah, that game was... There's no excuse for it. Yeah, they're the best team in the league. Brad was right last episode. I really hate to overuse the phrase, but if you're going to look at a scheduled loss, if there's ever going to be one at home, it's against the best team in the league doing historic numbers. They're pissed off because they've kind of sucked relative to their own standards recently. They're going to come in with a vengeance.
They got pumped by Ottawa and Montreal. Not lost. Got blown out by Montreal and Ottawa.
I'd say that's like worst case scenario for Detroit.
Yes. But it's also proof that you can at least make it closer, right? It did not have to be that bad. And I don't think this was like an unheard of bad performance for the Red Wings. I think it's a manifestation. You're right, Brad. This is what they've been building towards for the last couple of weeks. There's factors outside their control. Absolutely. Edvinsson being out hurts for sure. But it's also like the first game where their goaltending doesn't save them. They look feeble. It exposes how feeble that they looked. And so I'm not surprised that this happened, and it's unfortunate, but the Red Wings have to turn a lot around. And you know what? It was so bad that part of me when McKinnon did that whole pull on DeBrincat's arm glove thing.
Maybe this is the spark.
I was like, you know what? I almost forgot that this team is a playoff team right now, the Red Wings, and they're a good team in the standings. Because in my head, I was like, well, now you just have to go run McKinnon. Doesn't make sense to do.
He'd love that.
Oh, he would love that. He's a sicko. Anyways, it was not the sign you want to see from the Red Wings. That's when I had the smoke is coming out from under the hood thought, Brad.
Yeah. Edvinsson being out sucks. Great. Do you know what Edvinsson isn't? One of the leading scorers on this team. Where the hell are all the scoring chances? Was he like secretly driving the entire bus offensively and we just never noticed? Like, I know the underlying stats and everything are going to say the Red Wings had more than one scoring chance. I understand that. I know I'm over-exaggerating here, but it sure as hell feels like the Red Wings had one scoring chance. You know what I mean?
It was the Finney crossbar.
Exactly. Like, nothing happens in the offensive zone, and nothing has happened for any sustained period in weeks now. Just Colorado being so good just magnified how bad it's looked.
Well, okay, go back to the LA game. They were 0 for 4 on the power play. The Washington game, they were 0 for 4 on the power play. The Colorado game, 0 for 2 on the power play. They have been a pretty terrible power play this entire month.
It's going to be hard to get wins when your power play is ice cold and your goaltending kind of fades away. Like, that's not a recipe for success at any time.
Well, if your 5-on-5 scoring's good.
Well, it's not.
Oh.
The goaltending hasn't sucked. Like, even when it's been average, it's been more than what they've needed in terms of big moments in the game. That was the first game where it didn't save them, I felt like. Other games, it kind of kept them in the mix, or the other team's offense was also anemic. Speaking of goaltending, you know what I actually forgot was the goaltender interference challenge in the Washington game. Where
where Gibson had it covered?
Yeah, where they poked it out from under Gibson's glove. And I was like, oh, I think that's a good challenge, because the moment the goalie's glove is over the puck. Now, I understand in motion, like, I was like trying to remove my bias from it. I was like, from a Washington fan's perspective, I could understand where you're like, that was like kind of one fluid thing and he didn't actually freeze it. But I'm like, I don't know. If you can get a freeze frame of the goalie's glove over the puck and the stick isn't there yet, then feel like that should have been a whistle in my mind. I can't believe that one didn't get, like, that wasn't a successful challenge for Detroit. And that's why I think the glass thing happened. That was the hockey gods going, no, you should have had that one.
Do you know what were my detailed thoughts in the moment that happened? Like, the moment it happened? I had none. My screen was black.
Oh, that's right.
Inconclusive evidence.
That's why we forgot, right? Anyways.
When I saw the replay eventually, 10 minutes later, this is where I land on this. Am I okay with that being a goal? Yes. 90% of the time, it all happens so fast, I'm A-okay with that. Have they called goalie interference on way less than that? Yep, absolutely. By a lot. So what's the standard? That's just my only gripe with the whole situation.
Can't do standards, and we actually just fined whoever's playing the Florida Panthers tonight another $5,000.
Ottawa lost another first-round draft pick.
10-second penalty to Esteban.
I'll actually take that trade-off.
Yeah, me too.
That's actually very funny. So that's what the Red Wings did. They secured 1 point of a possible 4. They have 2 games left until the break, both on the road. Again, against Colorado, this time in Colorado, 9 p.m. Eastern on Monday, and then Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern in Utah. We'll be back with you on Thursday. It's not going to be an easy stretch, again, of 2 games, namely because of Colorado, but Detroit's going to have to find a way to salvage something here. You don't want to go into the break with a 5-alarm fire. There's not going to be an opportunity during the break to make a splash trade because of the trade freeze that comes into play on the 4th, I believe. You need the vibes to be a little bit better. Obviously, you're not going to go in and expect 4 points, but you need to make sure you at least try to keep pace. The Atlantic teams are winning every night who are behind you and sometimes now passing you. You have to make sure that you don't get into a funk and then you're not able to do anything about it until the 26th. 2 more road games to start after the break as well. To me right now, you can't ignore who this starts and ends with. It's Dylan Larkin right now. You know, the expectations are the highest on him. Yes, because he's the captain. Yes, because he's the top line center, but also because you know he can be way, way better than this. And we've talked about him, I think, like 5-6 times distinctly, just what's going on with Larkin. But this is for such an extended period of time now where I'm like, if he's nursing an injury, okay, I get it. But this is not the Dylan Larkin that you know he can be. And at some point, when people are pointing out it's always around this time, give or take a month, where Dylan Larkin starts to disappear, you can't ignore that. Like it's not actually all that crazy to say. Like if this team is to avoid a collapse, and I'm not saying, all hell's going to break loose and they're definitely going to collapse. They have some margin. Like their last 10 games after those losses, they're still 5-3-2. So that 3 straight losses, they still have, like it's not completely sunk them. They're still second in the Atlantic right now at the time of recording. But you have to find a way to regain some momentum and make sure you don't lose ground. And I mean, we talk about the offense being anemic. Larkin's the biggest X factor in terms of what's missing right now.
This is going to be interesting for him. I feel like if the Red Wings miss the playoffs after having a 12-point cushion a week ago, it's going to be a referendum on Dylan Larkin more than anything else in this organization, I think. Because, yes, sometimes it's been injury, sometimes it's been exhaustion, whatever. He has not performed well towards the end of the season. Especially frustrating given how good he was at the Four Nations last year. Didn't see that down the stretch. We all assume that was injury related. It's fine. It happens. But eventually, when there's an excuse every year, there are no excuses. You know what I mean? Like when it's just, you think McKinnon doesn't get banged up from time to time. You think Kucherov hasn't had an ailment here or there. They always find a way to get it done. And this would be the most egregious. Again, they were 12 points up on 9th place in the East. I'm not sitting here saying the Red Wings are going to collapse and miss the playoffs. I alluded to it last episode, and the last couple games have not done anything to cure that. The feeling is there, though. This is all lining up and shaping up and acting like it has the last couple of years, right around the same time. Obviously, it's a little early, but you got to factor in the Olympic break and actual number of games left. It's all playing out eerily similar. Fairly or unfairly, you can decide. That's what's going to happen. Is this guy's going to get put under a microscope and fans are going to start just asking the very simple question, what the hell?
It's not even like this year. What's especially frustrating is it wasn't down the stretch. Dylan Larkin has been struggling 5-on-5 since the start of December.
Yeah.
It feels like it's been most of this year. And that's what's weird to me. Like Dylan Larkin's not the guy who lacks drive. Like that has not been his thing. Sometimes, you're like, okay, he gets injured around this time or he plays 82, but he's obviously carrying an injury at some point. Like I get that. That's one thing. he doesn't lack drive, and he just looks weird this year. And that maybe that could be an injury, a different kind of injury manifesting in a different way. But man, you point to what's been wrong with the Red Wings, even just let's look on a more micro level the last few games. I still can't really blame, other than the Colorado game, defense or goaltending. Like, it's still, if the offense showed up, that's 1, 2, 3 more points right there.
We've talked about it before. If the offense cannot keep the puck in the offensive zone, that's more straight on the defense. Yeah, you don't want to give up 3 goals against Washington, but when you're spending 72 minutes a game in your defensive zone, eventually they're going to give something up.
Yeah. The good thing is the Red Wings are a much better team this year, and they've built themselves a lot of margin without Dylan Larkin playing at his best. But we've seen what can happen in previous years, and especially this year, it's only going to be even more true because of how tight things are in terms of that margin disappearing within a few games. One, you have to make sure that margin doesn't disappear anymore over the next couple games, or at least minimize it. I understand you have Colorado again. And 2, you have to come out of the break like bats out of hell and make sure you pick it back up. Hopefully you have Simon Edvinsson back. Hopefully everyone comes back from the Olympics, healthy enough, ready to go. And you have to understand that, one, if you want to add guys to this roster and you want to convince Steve Yzerman to go out and spend to bring guys in of questionable value long-term, but just to help this playoff push, you have to make it so that he thinks it's a sure thing anyways, and he's bolstering the first round lineup, not let's just see if we can sneak in. The team just has to, like, they've done well in spite of themselves at some points, and those parts that are in spite of themselves, like, some of it's inexcusable.
One of the big points to all this is once you get through the 82nd game of the season, then you have the playoffs, hopefully, knock on wood. Like, you got to figure that out now. Like, if Dylan Larkin's hurt now, well, it doesn't get easier. Then you've got a first-round matchup against, right now, what is it, Montreal?
Yeah.
Yeah. The games don't get easier. It's only going to become more difficult for the Detroit Red Wings, and figuring it out now and addressing things now will pay massive dividends should they make the playoffs.
So this is, I can hear people screaming in the comments, so we should probably address it. If this is an injury, okay, let's give Larkin every benefit of the doubt. He's hurt. He's nursing something. And that's why he's not playing up to his standard. Should he play in the Olympics?
I think that'll naturally filter itself out, though, because if he's playing like this at the Olympics, he's not going to see the ice time that he saw at Four Nations, right? Like that, there's going to be no.
JT Miller would never allow it.
Oh, no excuses, no more BS. Says
They're going to dig
Miller.
in.
Are they even going to let JT Miller on the ice if he plays like this?
As a Canadian, I hope so.
I'm still stunned he's on the team, but that's a whole nother conversation.
Like, as of right now, Dylan Larkin's not even the best American on the Red Wings.
Yeah,
No.
Literally. You can make a case not top 2.
There's certain moments, depending on the game, where I'm like, I'd rather have both DeBrincat and Kane with the puck on their stick right now than Dylan Larkin. And it's just such a ridiculous thing to say. You have to try to hope that you're giving him the benefit of the doubt, right? Like, because that's the only thing that makes sense here and doesn't drive you nuts. But yeah, for the Red Wings to look past February and after the Olympic break, which, like, as hockey fans, we're all looking forward to the Olympics. Steve Yzerman, for his role as Red Wings GM, does not give a damn at all, nor should he.
How happy do you think he was with the Simon Edvinsson injury? Out through the Olympics.
Not at all, Brad. The team's missing Simon Edvinsson right now.
But he was a good bet to go replace Jonas Brodin at the Olympics.
Yeah, I guess that's a good.
So making it worse, yeah, it's probably not the worst thing in the world.
This break could not be coming at a better time, honestly. Like, if the Red Wings win the next 2 games, great. Let's go all on vacation. Some guys go to Italy, have a great time, represent their country. We all come back in a great mood. They lose the next 2 games. Well, let's just hit the reset. Everybody just forget about hockey for the next little bit. And when you come back, we put the boots on and we go to work. So for me, it doesn't matter. Obviously, I want the Red Wings to win the games before the Olympic break, but this break is coming at the perfect time for Detroit, I think.
Let's see how they can survive the last 2 games before that break. Speaking of breaks, we're going to take one ourselves to hear from the sponsors of the Winged Wheel podcast. More after this. You know, when the season's grinding on, lines are changing fast, the schedule's packed, the last thing you want is another thing throwing you off your game. For a lot of guys, hair loss sneaks up the same way. Subtle at first, and suddenly it's all you can see when you look in the mirror. That's where Hims comes in. Hims provides access to simple, personalized care that fits into your routine. There's no waiting rooms, no awkward appointments. It's just a process built for real life. You complete an online intake form, you answer a few questions, and if you're prescribed, you can access treatments designed to help stop further hair loss and support regrowth. Hims provides access to medications made with doctor-trusted ingredients to help accomplish this. And it's all handled through licensed medical providers. Everything's up front, no hidden fees or surprise costs, just personalized care that puts your goals first. Think of Hims as knowing the system when you come into a new team, getting expert care without having to fight through the lineup or sit on the bench waiting your turn. For simple online access to personalized and affordable care for hair loss, ED, weight loss, and more, visit hims.com/wingedwheel. That's hims.com/wingedwheel for your free online visit. hims.com/wingedwheel. Featured products include compounded drug products, which the FDA does not approve or verify for safety, effectiveness, or quality. Prescription required. See website for full details, restrictions, and important safety information. Individual results may vary based on studies of topical and oral minoxidil and finasteride. Welcome back. That was a tougher first part of the pod. Hopefully some trade rumors help bring up the mood. Evan, do you want to start with Elias Pettersson?
Is there something new that I haven't heard about?
No, I thought it'd just be funny.
Okay.
Yeah, no. But there are some notes, players who we've talked about before, but now that Detroit's being linked more directly to them, that are worth raising here. So Elliot Friedman reported on 32 Thoughts a couple names that Detroit is among the teams to be linked to. First, we'll start with the big one, Artemi Panarin out of New York. We have to qualify this by saying there are, I think, more teams than not in on Artemi Panarin, it seems like, or who have at least expressed interest, of course, because of the caliber of player, and you're going to see what the acquisition cost is. And Elliot Friedman did say, based on how Steve Yzerman operates, and everyone can assume the same thing here, the only way you're going to trade for Panarin is with an extension. Now, Friedge throws out the number of $50 million total, whether that's a 4 by 12.5 or a 5 by 10 as the estimated range that people are kind of talking about in terms of what Panarin would be looking for in an extension, and then you factor in what you have to pay the Rangers to acquire him as well. Panarin has full control over where he goes. So all of that you have to have in mind. But Detroit's one of the teams who is interested with that kind of extension qualifier. So we've talked about it in terms of whether Panarin could be an option, and I think it's worth the continued conversation. And now that you have that number in mind, use it as a benchmark. You give or take a little bit. I would probably put that at the high point of what I think you'd have to pay Panarin, unless a team comes.
I want to get paid $50 million.
It'd be nice, yeah. But he produces a lot more than you do.
Probably over a slightly longer time period, my accruing would be as well.
Slightly longer.
Yeah, a couple months.
I bet he doesn't have the glute problem that you have right now. Like he could probably do a squat.
Yes.
Yeah. So how does that make you feel about Panarin, knowing the price and then what you think the acquisition cost could be? We'll start with you, Evan, because I bet I can guess Brad's answer.
I actually can't guess Brad's answer, but I'll still go. For me, $50 million for a guy who's in his mid-30s, not interested. I mean, yeah, I want to get paid $50 million. I'd be looking more at like the $40 million if I'm Steve Yzerman, to be honest. It's just, that's a lot of money. And then you get on top of the acquisition cost to even then have the conversation about $40 or $50 million contract. That's just getting really expensive for me. If Artemi Panarin was 28, I would be all over this. But the age curve is drastic at times, and that just doesn't interest me, and I don't think it really fits the long-term contention window for the Red Wings.
The way I look at it is this guy is an exceptional producer.
Oh, yeah, he's amazing.
Like, say what you will about the play style not necessarily being exactly what Detroit needs and all the obviously questionable stuff off ice too, and how you think he's going to fit into the team. But he's so offensively talented that there's no doubt that he would bring something to Detroit's top six that they've desperately needed for a while. And even at age 34, I think he might be one of those guys who can be, hot take here, way better than other guys, age 34 who are going to play for the next 4 years, which is what he wants to do. I'm a little bit of an idiot when it comes to the cap right now in terms of what I think is okay. Like I've lost my mind a little bit over the years watching teams do what they've done to make the cap work. And with the money going up as much as it has been, I'm kind of like, I definitely am overdoing it in my own head, but I'm kind of like, you know what? Just leave it as not the primary concern. My biggest thing right now is the acquisition cost, because depending on what you're bidding against here, I know at some point you have to do something if you're Steve Yzerman. I'm firmly on that train. But if you have options, I don't know that going and spending it all on a guy who's going to be 35 at the start of next season is the best way to do it. I'd rather go and pay even more for Robert Thomas, even if that makes you go crazy with how much it costs, because at least you have a long-term future with him. That might be a moot point, because if this is the option that's presented to you and you know you can do it, well, there's not really a lot of evidence to suggest that there's going to be another blockbuster option available to the Red Wings. But the cap's not my biggest concern. It's what it's going to cost to get him from Chris Drury and the Rangers.
It all depends on how much you can stomach risk. The cliff comes for everybody. Father Time is undefeated.
For Evan, it came at 31.
That's true.
Is that going to hit Panarin at 35, 36, 37, 38? It's going to hit. I don't think the Red Wings are super close to their cup window. I don't think they're as far off as other people do with the right moves. But even if Panarin produces at this current rate for 2 more seasons, which I think would be optimistic, I don't think the Red Wings will be able to make enough moves and develop enough of their young guys to be firm Stanley Cup contenders by then. So then you're paying that $12 million or whatever it ends up being in the relevant window when he's probably tailed off pretty severely. Is it possible he plays 4 more excellent years of hockey? Yeah, it's possible. That's not a risk I'm willing to take for the acquisition cost and the cap hit. But if you're a gambler, I see the appeal.
There's no doubt he makes a team better, right? So I'm not going to sit here like I have with other trade opportunities and say, under no circumstance should Yzerman do this. And, we always preach. We can't sit here and say that he has to do something and say, but this one isn't perfect. Maybe this is the case, right? Maybe this is the condition that makes us uncomfortable that you have to kind of accept if you're the Red Wings or a Red Wings fan and say, this is going to make you better. It also just doesn't really seem like Yzerman's style. He's been painfully, to some people, and I think for the most part, appropriately patient with how he's utilized draft picks and prospects to replenish the organization and give them a good foundation so that they're in the position they're in, being able to deal picks or prospects right now to now hopefully accelerate things. To do that for a guy who's maybe got 4 years left in his career and has anywhere from 0 to reasonably 2 good years left, it would be a bit of a surprise. I think that there'd be some tough pill swallowing there if that's where you got to. But I don't know. Maybe he's so exceptional that they're like, well, we just saw this with Patrick Kane and what he's been able to do for this team. And at some point, you got to do something. If the acquisition cost is, lower than what we're anticipating, then sure. But I don't know. There's just too many teams in on him where I'm like, he's just going to end up in Florida anyways.
Yeah. Or somehow Vegas is going to make it work. I think I
Dodgers.
saw Anaheim being floated around too. Like that could make a lot of sense. It's just, there's just so many, I don't want to say red flags, but orange flags where it's like, you kind of take a pause and you're like, I don't know if I would do that. And the talent, like we said, and everybody knows, it's just undeniable. But it's just those things just really make me not all that interested in acquiring Artemi Panarin.
Well, Elliot Friedman also linked Detroit to the Winnipeg Jets, mentioning that some people
You're
believe...
going to get Mark Scheifele?
Among other things. Yeah, we're going to get Connor over here as well. Mentioned that it seems like they might be... I'll take any Connor from the Jets. I actually don't know the names of all the all the people in their system, so I have to be careful with that one. But something is cooking maybe between the Red Wings and the Jets, and Friedman mentioned Logan Stanley's name, who we've talked about on this podcast. Now, I had a little bit of I don't know if you guys have seen the meme where the guy's laughing and all of a sudden he goes, oh, no. Like, we're taking the bit too far, because I have said, bring me Logan Stanley. And I still think, I'm like, you know what? Bring me someone who can bring a little bit of that punch Brady Tkachuk in the face-ness to the bottom pair of the Red Wings defense. If you're going to be a bottom pair defenseman, at least have the range and the size and the ability to kind of hold your own like that and hold the line a little bit. You've seen the ranginess be an effective thing for the Red Wings defense. So if the acquisition cost is actually like completely reasonable, I'm all for, take a shot at it. If this gets into a bidding war, that's when I'm like, no, at some point you do have to accept that Logan Stanley is not an exceptional player by the numbers. And so you don't do it. You don't force that trade. That's the opportunity presents itself.
That's like 4th round pick max, right?
Carson Soucy went for a 3rd. There's your benchmark.
That's fine. Yeah. Like that's
great. Do it.
I think Carson Soucy's better than Logan Stanley.
Had more value for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. You like the video of him punching Brady Tkachuk in the face. That's great. But, you look at what he's likely to
do it more often in the Atlantic as well.
For sure.
And if you think that the Travis Hamonic experience is over, then it's like, let's bring in someone new, see if they stick. And I'm okay with that as the going theory for the 7th or bottom pairing defenseman.
And like a lot of this kind of sense of they need to go out and get any depth defenseman was at a time when you didn't see much from, Johansson and JBD. And not that it's been perfect since, but you've seen some flashes of really strong play. It does change the calculus a little bit. But if it's getting into that middling price of a pick that you're going to forget about, that's fine by me. A player's name who comes up a lot in our mentions, who I think is worth bringing up, is Connor Murphy out of Chicago. Like that's a guy to me where I'm like, that's an actual, like, you look at his underlyings, you look at the way he plays, and you think that that's a guy where you can make a bet that he could be more on your team and be a surprisingly like plus value acquisition in terms of what you'd have to pay for him. I like that one.
I'm in the same boat where, do I think he's better than Carson Soucy? Not definitively. So if the price is about the same, sure, why not? I'm not passionate about Connor Murphy, but I also wouldn't hate it.
Good size, the underlines do impress you, and there's a Chicago-ness to Chicago where everything on that team sucks for the most part, so you have to factor that in. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you can say that he might be in that same tier as Carson Soucy. I'd have to dig in a bit more before I can say definitively I'd be willing to pay more. His contract is up after this season. He's currently being paid 4.4, so he's a rental, but if things go well, then you extend him, and then that is what it is. Another name worth bringing up. Nazem Kadri's name's been coming up a lot. I think, was it Drager brought up Kadri and Uyghur? I don't know. I feel like that's chasing the past. Like, Calgary's going to charge an arm and a leg for even just one of those guys, especially Kadri. And Kadri is a year older than Panarin. He'll be 36 in October.
And Panarin is outproducing him by a lot.
Yes. Yeah, this isn't
so if you're going to swing for an old guy, go for the better one. Like, the Kadri thing makes no sense to me. Yeah, he's still a good player. I don't want to besmirch the good name of Nazem Kadri. However good or bad you think he is, just off the top of your head right now, he's better. But he's not that good that I'm taking that. Like, his contract takes him to 39, 40 years old, something like that. That's a hard pass for me.
Yeah, Kadri is currently making $7 million through 2029. So that's the world of NHL trade rumors. It's going to heat up. It's important to note that there is a trade freeze coming up because of the Olympic break. From February 4th to February 22nd, no trades are permitted, and there are restrictions as well on which players can be sent down during the freeze. So don't expect a flurry of activity or teams, trading players while they're out in Milan. That's not going to happen. So activity is going to die down, and it's going to ramp up real fast towards the end of February. One quick Red Wings note, actually a couple quick Red Wings notes before we jump into overtime break here. But first, Sheldon Dries re-signed for a 2-year, 2-way contract extension. So he gets rewarded. Congratulations to him. Big part of the Griffins organization. Excited for him to be able to continue within the Red Wings org. And The Chiarot extension, just want to clarify and stipulate a couple details that, in the excitement of last episode when we were talking about, the virtues or lack thereof, according to, some people, depending on where you fall in that, of his contract extension, should mention the details. For the 3 years that he signed, the first year there's a full no trade clause, so Chiarot has full control over who he could be traded to. The second year, he has a full no trade clause until 28 days before the trade deadline, and then it turns into a 10-team no trade clause, so he could be traded to all other teams other than 10, and then that 10-team no trade clause persists through his final year. So basically 1 year of a full no trade clause, and then split the next season in half between a full and then a 10-team, and then the last year is a 10-team no trade clause. So there is flexibility in there, quite a bit of a flexibility for Steve Yzerman beyond what you would usually see with full no moves for a guy of that age who would want to kind of protect where he's at. So that's just important to note. All right, we're going to take another quick break here, and when we're back, the final segment on this episode of the Winged Wheel Podcast. Back after this.
We're going to overtime.
Overtime is brought to you by our Patreon supporters, patreon.com/wingedwheelpodcast. If you want to support the show, the bonus episodes, the Discord, the giveaways, all of that and lots more, and you allow us to do everything we do on this show. So we really wouldn't be here near on 11 years. This month, it'll be 11 years.
I saw it in the calendar.
We have it in the calendar now. Yeah, we missed it too many years.
Yeah, no kidding.
It's unsurprising of us. You know how many benchmarks we've missed?
Oh, all of them?
I think we remembered to get 5 million downloads and views, and we've forgotten everyone since. We are over 9 million downloads and views now. So God help us if we want to try to remember 10. I you know what? I realized that a little while ago. We might be close.
We may have already passed it.
Could have already passed it.
You listening to this right now, it was actually you, and Ryan's just now finding out.
Congratulations. You're the 10 millionth listener of the Winged Wheel Podcast, and you get nothing because we forgot. All right, let's take some questions from our patrons in this overtime segment. Let's start off with Perry. He says, Sky isn't falling yet, but realistically staring down the barrel of loss number 5 heading into a break, considering their play immediately following Four Nations. It seems imperative that they maximize the benefits of the break. Acclimating a new bottom pair D seems like a hell of a place to start. It may shed more light on additional deadline deals. Chasing down desperation clears after being regularly hemmed 5-on-5 doesn't paint the clearest picture of what you have up front. Thoughts on Jamie Oleksiak, including acquisition costs and your opinions of how urgently a move needs to be made. Johansson has shown capable on the right side in the past. Interesting thought. Oleksiak feels like he's on the block every year, and he's one of those guys where he's definitely, he ages well in this game. There's a reason why he's been around so long. His number is like 4.6, I think it is. And Seattle could definitely retain on him. I think he's, I don't know, that's the kind of guy where I wouldn't hate it for sure. If the acquisition cost is what they talk about every year as they try to like make Edmonton pay out the nose of like a first round pick plus or like a second plus a really good prospect, yeah, you start to get a bit squeamish at that point, but I like the player.
Is he just Logan Stanley with the tech package?
No, I think okay, maybe like Logan Stanley, that's a bit of a meme. Like, would we be talking about him if he didn't sucker punch Brady Tkachuk? Probably not.
No, definitely not.
Are his underlings as good as Oleksiak's? I'm not even looking at them, and I'll say I don't think so. I hold Oleksiak in a higher regard.
I think the one nice thing about Jamie Oleksiak is he's a UFA at the end of the year, so you figure out if the fit is there. If it's not, everybody goes their own way. He gets to pick exactly the team he wants to go to. So, as per usual, it all comes down to acquisition cost.
Yeah, that's a good thing if they didn't pay out the nose for him.
Yes.
Joseph Barry says, with Philly absolutely blundering Michkov's development and deployment, would you consider making a move for him? Yeah, Tocchet and Michkov don't seem to get along. Shock of the century.
I mean, I don't think that's all Rick Tocchet.
No.
The fact that Michkov came out into camp
fat,
looking like me, like that's not good as a young professional hockey player.
Yeah. I've seen the joke going around of like there's more Nail Yakupov in him than, other Russian stars who have made it. There's more Yakupov than Kaprizov, is I think what other people have been saying. But he's not done a lot to dispel that. obviously Yakupov was just like all talent, absolutely zero brains on the ice. But I don't know. I don't think Philly would ever, it wouldn't make sense for Philly to let him go or cheap, you know?
He was the one who basically said, I'm only going to play for Philly, right?
Yeah.
We do not want this guy then. He signed his own death wish. He ended up into the environment that he doesn't want to be in.
Yeah, because it was
He
Torts
forced his
before.
way into it. Yeah. Like, what are we doing? Like, we want nothing to do with this guy.
Well, time and time again, we've seen teams bring in mentors for young guys, like maybe guys who have similar play style or attitudes or stuff like that, to be like, hey, here's how you get to this level in the NHL. I would think Philly might be picking up the phone and asking Vancouver about Elias Pettersson.
Well,
A lot of similarities there, I think.
no, I think maybe they're calling the KHL trying to bring back Daniel Sprong in terms of similar play style.
I thought we were going to say the Red Wings will get Panarin and Bichkov.
Oh yeah, let's just go all in.
That's where I thought that was going.
Rebuild the most problematic Russian 5 you possibly can. Jeremy Dahl talks a lot about what's going wrong with this team and asks, is having Edvinsson out making that much of a difference? I'll say yes and no. I'll say, even on games where the Red Wings didn't get caved defensively without Edvinsson, it still has an implicit effect on this team. And even though they have survived a few games without Edvinsson, without being completely caved defensively, obviously the Colorado game isn't a good example, but the rest you can kind of point to moments where the different configurations have worked. That's not going to work over a large sample size. We said in the offseason, we said even when the Red Wings were playing well defensively, like, yeah, it's great that Seider and Edvinsson are working, but you have to pay for that somehow. And the way you pay for that is your next 4 defensemen are going to suffer. The second pair is a problem. The third pair was a problem for a lot of the year. Still is, by and large, in terms of how the year has gone, a problem. They're in survival mode. After the first pair, they are essentially just trying to survive. Mo Seider is playing so many minutes. It is unbelievable. Even though this team is sucking lately, I still think he's only strengthening his case for Norris votes. So he is that important, and that is partly because he is such a good defenseman, Simon Edvinsson, but that's partly because of the scarcity behind him, for sure. Because even when, he's not there and the team is doing well defensively, they just have Seider deployed insane amounts in the defensive zone yet again, which means Seider can do less offensively for the team, which means Seider can do less trying to move up the ice with the team. You have to pay for that somehow, and it's coming with costs up and down the rest of the defensive roster. Finny the Pooh says Robert Thomas would be our number 1 center, right? It's probably more of a 1A, 1B, but still, I can't help but notice Larkin has never eclipsed 80 points, while Thomas did it the last 2 seasons. I mean, at that point, yeah, it's your first 2 lines kind of don't really matter, and it's going to be almost a ride the hot hand of who's effectively your number 1 center. But in terms of who this season would be the better player, that's Robert Thomas, right?
Trick question. Larkin would not be the 1C. He would not be the 2C. He'd be the 1 left winger.
I'll take that. That's fine by me because it means they brought in someone else. But yeah, Robert Thomas, 81 and 86 points the past 2 seasons.
Probably worth noting, Robert Thomas just had surgery.
Oh, yeah, he's out through the Olympic break with a minor leg procedure. So,
yep.
I mean, that times out well with the trade freeze. So, nothing was going to happen anyways. But hopefully, I don't know. I don't really think that affects things one way or the other. Hopefully, you see him get healthy so that the Red Wings can trade for him. All right, moving on here. Winter Knight says, how much of this week is because Ed has been taking a siesta? And also, actually, someone else noted, how much of this week has been because of the flu that Todd McLellan has mentioned is going around the room? You can maybe say a little bit. Like, I know we zeroed in a lot on Larkin, and you can say of late, maybe that's what's kind of caused the sluggishness, but the Larkin thing goes back to December. The rest of the team, yeah, sure, that could be at least part of it.
God, I hope so. Genuinely, God, I hope that's all it is.
Do we have any confidence at all that Yzerman will make the move we all desperately want for needle-moving players, top 6 forward or top 4D? Side note, I'm also a McDonald's in Sweden guy. All right, so we have more people who will do the McDonald's as they travel.
We have to phrase this question carefully for me to answer honestly. Do I have faith Yzerman is trying to make that trade? Yes. Do I have faith it's actually going to happen? No.
That's more of an NHL thing. It's just The rise in cap happening all at once rather than like spread out over the years has really just ruined so much in this league. Teams are just being so restrictive. They haven't filled up their cap sheets yet, and they're able to hang on to good players, and it's hard to get good players in the NHL. The contract rules, how long you control guys until they become UFAs, they don't come up in free agency, so you don't really let good players go unless you have to, and a lot of teams don't have to anymore. Andy says, I hate the narrative that players have to earn the right for Yzerman to add. That feels like such a backwards way of thinking. If the team isn't good enough, the GM needs to make moves to make them better. Otherwise, you can look up the definition of insanity. Thoughts on that one?
I disagree with that. The team has to earn it, and they have to earn it over a full season. If this collapse keeps happening over and over again, all that would tell me, and again, I'm not saying it has happened this year, but if it does, is this group is not the group that needs to get it done, so we are not wasting assets on this group, at least premium assets. So we're going to rejig, and maybe the younger group is the core now or something, and they change timelines, however you want to phrase it. But yeah, you got to earn it. You want to be a good team? Be a good team. And then you can trust your GM, I would hope, to make a good team into a great team. If you're bad, it's a sunken cost. You're not going to spend money on it.
I don't know that I agree with you fully. I understand the sentiment, and I think, yeah, absolutely. But in this league, at some point you have to look at why the collapses are happening. And if you can make a move to put yourself in a position to put that off, then you make the playoffs. Then that changes kind of the DNA of your team. Then that changes the way you're thinking about the game as a player, as a coach, as a GM. It makes your team more attractive to come to. Like, there's a certain element of like, you're not going to just go out and spend when you think this team isn't going to make any use of it. But I think, and not that you or the commenter were talking specifically about the Red Wings, but just to use Detroit as an example, this is a substantially better team than last year and the year before and the year before. So this team compared to, let's say, 2 years ago, yeah, I think this team has earned it. Todd McLellan said it in a radio interview, and I agree. I think this team has absolutely earned the help, because you can look at this team and say, yeah, they still have their problems, and it still makes you want to pull your hair out that you're talking about a specific guy at this time of year, or that they're scaring you come end of January, February, March-ish. But you add one solid top four defenseman to this team, how much more confident are you? I'm like way more confident. You add a solid top four defenseman and or a middle six forward, I think you can lock it in with how this season has gone. That's with Larkin continuing to struggle. So yes and no is I think I come in between the two of you there.
There's also like ways to do it, right? Like, you can bring in help during the season. There's only so many moves you can make. There's also times where you can bring guys in at the start of the season as well. And truthfully, I think it all depends on what the organization's expectations were for this team this year. If they think they're right where they should be, then you can have a more open, honest dialogue about the type of players they should be bringing in to then push this team a little bit more. If they're not where they thought they were, it's like, okay, let's wait till next season. UFA opens up, we'll see who's available, and we'll make some moves then. So I don't think it's really a black and white scenario. I think it really just depends on who's available and how the team's performing.
This last comment here is an exceptionally funny one, and I want to read it. It's more of an overtime comment, like a bonus overtime episode, but I was like, oh, this is good. Trent L says, I love Steve's raise him up from puppy's approach to managing, but he needs to go and find some problematic dogs at the pound. Like the type of dog not suitable to be around children or other dogs. A dog you can't take to the dog park, but the dog you trust with your life. This team has some AKC certified purebreds, show quality dogs, a few mutts, and a couple arms of the angels. Please support this dog or we're going to have to put them down types. But right now, whether we suffer on D or can't score 5-on-5, the solution to that on both ends of the ice is that we need a guy who isn't scared of anything.
Oh my God.
Tattoo
that to my chest.
You're going to need a bigger chest.
Yeah, no kidding.
And we had a bonus overtime where actually it was you, Brad, when Evan wasn't there. And then the next time Evan was there and you weren't, and you both said the same thing, is this team needs a psycho. This team needs a lunatic. And I think that's what Trent's saying here. Like, this team needs a dog. And a dog where you're like, oh, I'm not sure if he's going to rip my arm off today or
The
not.
dog that got left in the dark room.
Yeah. the bane of dogs.
Yeah.
It'd be nice. I understand it's like, I don't even know who else was around, but you saw the McKinnon thing, and I'm like, there's certain teams that McKinnon would not have done that. The yanking on DeBrincat's glove. I'm not like losing my mind over that situation. Certainly wasn't thrilled about it, and I hope he pays for it, but the team needs a psycho. Team needs a bad dog. Let's get telling.
Why do we have a podcast? That was more well put than we could have ever put it.
Trent's too busy writing poetry, apparently.
No kidding.
All right, we're going to take one more quick break here, and then we have some housekeeping notes, especially patrons. You're going to listen to this, and we're going to wrap up the show. So back after this. All right, welcome back. Just some housekeeping items before we wrap up this episode. If you're a Patreon supporter, check out a recent post that Mel made on Patreon about your mailing address if you are at the reward tier where you receive mail rewards from us. So we have to make sure that your address is up to date so things don't get sent back and you actually get your rewards mailed. So check that. It'll have instructions on how to make sure that your address is up to date and how to check it, and then just confirming for us as we prep to send out mail rewards. And then also, if you are interested in becoming a patron or at one of the lower tiers, you can check that out to see a little bit of what you might get as well if you do choose to become a patron at those tiers. Speaking of patrons, patreon.com/wingedwheelpodcast if you want to support the show. It's a big help to us, but if you want to help us out and Patreon is not for you, that is totally okay. Wherever you get your podcasts, if you want to subscribe, be it Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, wherever, leave a rating on the show, really does help us out. A review, the thumbs up if you're on YouTube, or the like button, whatever it might be. Tell a friend about the show. Those are all ways that you can really support the Winged Wheel Podcast. And don't forget, Winged Wheel Podcast night at the LCA, Saturday, March 21st against the Bruins. wingedwheelpodcast.com/Red Wings to get your tickets. Thank you to all the sponsors of the show and to our name level supporters on Patreon. We cannot thank you enough. Arjun Shankar, Aikfer, THL Champ, Samuel Soderholm, Klaus Sorensen, Glenn Brabham, Rain Dano, Below Average Ball Hockey Goalie, Matthew M. Rice, Darb EQ, Sea Lion, Detroit Style, Deep Dish Cider. I'm 0-9 watching Red Wings games live, and I'll be at the game Monday. So if I'm 0-10, I'm looking for bids to keep me away from Winged Wheel Podcast night. The name got truncated. Evan will give you his entire wallet. Hassam Al-Qassem, Asher Killian, Kaylin Wood, Alex Toger. That's what I appreciate about you. Matt McKay, Andy Hardcore, Sam Bankston, Citizen High Five, R.A., Aaron Hudson, Admiral Matt S. The Cheesebag Navy, The El Cato, Stephen Ortlieb, Jonathan Miller, Give Blood Fight Probert, DJ Denton, Carl Brutanen-Aluski, Raul Pud, Jay Gollum, John Ingalls, Alex Bonilla, who I believe is a new name level supporter. Welcome to the Dub Dub Club. CB55, Connor Scovey, Adam Zuiza, Adam Rose. This team is making the playoffs. Drinking Bailey's from a Shoe, Hockeytown Matt, Mr. Kuzi, Chaotic Monkey, Craig Kibble, Yzerman Stan, Podgy713, Clip Clop Nene, Unapologetic Gibson Truther, Griffin Not from Grand Rapids, Winter Knight, who I believe is a brand new name level supporter. Welcome to the Dub Dub Club, and thank you for your support. Marty, Kazi, the OG13, Jeff Pridemore, Eric Hill, Butts Carlton, Best James Bond, Beer League Legend, Alec, Mark Hernandez, Grand Rapids Gurley, Anna Seaman, William, Mike, Asher, August, Brian Munn, Improved But Flawed, Chris 99 Jones, Trevor Centerfit, Adams Red Wings Takes, Kurt Chin, Adam Ernie Slander, Daniel Morosky, General Andy Bohan of the Cheesebag Army, Quaz, Dylan Larkin Trade Sacrifice, ready for the Olympic break, already there. Matt Keeler, Linda Hull, Connor Leighton, Good Cop, Brad Cop, Josh Yelton, Brad Simmons, Jared Fick, Bex, the Hodag, Daddy Pastor Jake, the Providing the Daily Bread and a Side of Meat, 200-foot/high compete, Maximilian, Commander Ben Baird of the Cheeseback Space Force, Sandin-Pellikka's Pet Pelican, Griffey Boy, JM Rhapsody, Frank, Stanley, Rosie, Posey, Pucking, Puck, that other guy, Tom, Iserplan, Respecter, Carl Thames, Nerno, The Hat 123, Steven, brand new name level sponsor, AA Ron, Corey Prida, All Motor No Hands, Gene Sullivan, Stinky Britches, James Pridemore, Upernadian, Adrock Jablonski, I think new name level supporter. Drop the Puck, Eric Nance, Ann Stanislavski, Jim, Bellingham Acid Balls, Wings fan in St. Louis Scott, Lucas Raymond, Cops Gump Lip, Trent Thorough, Grepsky, Evan Beckner, C.E. Hayes, Finney to the Rafters, Jacob Marsh, Falkness, Fight Night at the Joe, Axel Sandy Pelican, The Octopi's Ninth Leg, Finney the Pooh, I'm Evan, you're Evan, we're all Evan, Will Utley, and your second favorite patron. Thank you all so very much. We will talk to you Thursday afternoon.
Thanks for tuning in to the Winged Wheel Podcast. Be sure to visit wingedwheelpodcast.com, where you'll find links to subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. You'll also find ways to support the show, like Patreon, official podcast merchandise, and more. And don't forget to follow us on X at Winged Wheel Pod, at Ryan Hanna, WWP, at Brad Crisco, and at Hockeytown Evan, as well as Winged Wheel Podcast on Instagram.